are you and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Alex Cosoi, and I'm the Chief Security Strategist for Bitdefender.
What does that mean?
It's a made-up title. I really don't know myself. It is a title that suggests that I do some sort of strategic stuff. In reality, I'm involved in many projects, R&D, development, also going at events, speaking to people, networking, business opportunities, so a little bit of everything.
So a little bit of everything I think my audience will be fascinated by is by something to do with cybercrime. Can you tell me a bit about what that is?
Cybercrime. Well, I think it's something that we've been involved since the beginning of our company, which is like 24 years ago. And we actually have a special project within Bitdefender related to cybercrime. In terms of back in 2015, we created a team called Draco team. And this is a specialized team that works close to law enforcement, and it's helping out with their investigations. It goes both ways in terms of sometimes law enforcement reaches out to us to ask for assistance, or sometimes the team is doing their own investigations on a particular topic that's interesting to them, and they figure out that, okay, we reached this point, we can't really go further with the details. For instance, they identify a C2 server, a command and control server. They know what it is, they know what it does, but they can't actually access it as a private company, right? So they go to law enforcement, they say, look, we have this investigation, would you be interested, do you have a case on this particular threat actor? And if the law enforcer has a case or it's willing to work with it, yes, there's a joint investigation that starts up. They seize the server. Sometimes they provide it to us to do the forensic analysis. Sometimes they do their own, and there's some data to be shared. And that's how the investigation progresses. And it goes further and further until it ends in a miraculous way. Usually it ends up in three possible ways. There's disruption that happens. Disruption means you can't really arrest anyone because let's say they live in unfriendly countries, so you can't really touch them. Right. So then you do the disruption, which means taking down the infrastructure, maybe seizing some of the funds if there's money involved. Or the third option is that there's not really much you can do about it, and the criminal is already on the run. So, yeah.
Wow. Now that sounds like an insane team. Can you tell me who's on the team?
No. Obviously, the people that are within this team, they are spread within the company and in different countries, first of all. It's not a team that works in the same office. It's actually people that are spread in different other teams. And this Draco team is actually a virtual team. So it doesn't have a management. There's no project managers deciding what's going to happen. No, it's people that share a common interest to combat cybercrime, and everybody is doing their own thing, working on a different project. And also, since they work from different teams, they all have different skill sets. But if you put them together, they cover the entire ecosystem.
It's like the Avengers.
It's like the Avengers without the enthusiasm.
I'm sure they're excited.
No, they are excited. What I mean is that when this team was created, everybody was seeing themselves not as the Avengers, but let's say the James Bond of the internet. And in James Bond, there's in a 1 hour and a half, there's a lot of things going on. Well, when it comes to investigations, things are slow, especially when you work with law enforcement. They work slower, but not because they want to. It's because they have to follow the law. So they have to have the right paperwork. They have to send subpoenas. They have to send international cooperation letters and so on. And obviously, this is very challenging because they have to abide the law. But criminals don't need to do that. So they switch identities at countries within minutes, while on the investigation side, this takes months. It's
frustrating, but it's admirable because the temptation's probably there. Like they have the skill set to let's just do it.
We call it emotional roller coaster.
I like that. Now, how can someone join the Draco team? Are there tryouts? What's the situation there? 'Cause I know my audience hears that and they go, that sounds badass. How do we join?
Yeah, well, first of all, you need to work for Bitdefender. That'll be the first. No, I mean there are other companies out there which have similar teams, so it's not like we invented the hot water or anything. So each company has some sort of team that's working with law enforcement. They have their own cool names. Ours is Draco. But yeah, so you need to work for Bitdefender, and second, you need to want to do this, and then you reach out to one of the members. We know ourselves within Bitdefender, just outside of the Bitdefender. The people that are within the team don't want to disclose their identity, like, hey, that guy's a Draco team, because you don't want to tell everybody that you're an investigator, right? Yeah. So once you talk to one of the members, there's going to be like a meeting or a discussion. And then it's up to you, like what you want to do. If you want to do malware analysis, sure, there's plenty of malware that's involved into law enforcement investigations that you can look at. Cryptocurrency investigations, sure, there's a lot of crypto you can look at, no problem. Botnets, forensics, anything. There's plenty of stuff to do on the table, so that's not a problem. And not only, like I said, it starts in two ways. Either law enforcement will reach out for a case, or you can do your own thing and then reach out to them if required. It doesn't mean you have to involve law enforcement. There's plenty of investigations that are fully developed only by Bitdefender employees, by the Draco team, and then published.
Wow. So, okay, so are there any investigations that stand out that you're allowed to talk about that you can walk us through?
Yeah, there's a couple that are public, so to speak. I think the team was involved in two ransomware investigations so one of them was GandCrab. I know the name doesn't ring a bell, and this is a case from back to 2017, so quite a while ago. But back then, this particular ransomware had let's call a 50% market share. So 1 in 2 victims of ransomware had this particular strain of ransomware. Yeah, and it was a very interesting investigation. It took about 2.5 years, and throughout this time frame, there were like 5 decryption tools that were released. Because every time there was a decryption tool that was released to the public, they actually modified the malware, so now you will not be able to decrypt the new version. But then we released a new one, and so on. And after 5 different decryption tools, they just closed their business. Because what happened was, this was a ransomware as a service model, which means that there was a core group that was building the infrastructure, that was coding the malware and improving the malware. And then you had the affiliates, which are the people that are actually carrying out the infections, that are doing finding the victims and encrypting the data. And they split the money, like 30% goes to the core group, the developers, 70% goes to the affiliates. So if I want to do ransomware tomorrow, for instance, I would pick one of the ransomware families out there, depending on which one I think it's cooler or whatever. And then I'll reach out to them. You can contact them and say, hey, I want to join this thing of yours. And if they agree, sometimes they have to test you that you're not an undercover police officer or anything. And then they give you access to their infrastructure, so you can take the malware, go infect somebody, that person will pay, and you receive back the 70% of the money. Well, what happened in the GandCrab case was that every time we released a decryption tool, the victims were able to decrypt all their files for free, which means all the affiliates worked for nothing. And after 5 times, what happened was that we severely destroyed the trust between the affiliates and the developers, which means the affiliates moved away to work with other groups, and the administrators had no people to work with them. So they just said, we're closing shop. So that's what happened.
So when you were doing the investigation, or when you were...
It wasn't me, it was a team.
Yeah, I'm using the you in general term. When the team was doing this, were they aware that they were frustrating this ransomware group?
The ransomware group was actually very vocal. They were even giving interviews in the media. They had a Twitter account, and they were cursing Bitdefender quite often. So I'm guessing, yeah, they were aware that they're provoking some frustration back there.
That's just encouragement, right?
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah.
Now, you said involvement with law enforcement. Which law enforcement?
I think the team works with any law enforcement in friendly countries. So we're looking in Europe at all European countries, and we're also working with law enforcement in the United States. So when you do an investigation, when a consortium does an investigation, and by consortium I mean the countries that are involved in the case, and you also have the private partners that help with the data. When you have a consortium, usually a country participates in investigation if they have either victims in their country, if they have suspects in their country, or if they have infrastructure, criminal infrastructure in their countries. So that's why they put everything together on the table. They meet and discuss about the topic. So when all these countries discuss, they have the bigger view of what's going on. If there's only one or two countries investigating, but you have things outside of this, you don't have the clear picture, right? So obviously the whole point is to work together with them. And also Europol is providing a lot of support by facilitating discussions between the countries, organizing meetings, and so on. So they also have a huge involvement in this case. And us as private partners, but like I said, it's not just Bitdefender. There's others as well that are coming to help. We're offering technical assistance on the cases. I think everybody is imagining that we have an involvement on the suspects as well. No, we do not, because it wouldn't be legal for us to involve into finding real persons that are actually doing the investigation. So what we do our technical stuff. We go and present what we have. But when there's discussions about suspects or things like that, we step out of the room. We don't have access to that information.
So would you say that the Draco team has a pretty good pulse on the cybercriminal world? Yeah, I would say so, but don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other types of crimes that are cybercrime that it's very hard for the Draco team to investigate. We can look at, for instance, the business email compromise. This means that one of the key members within an organization, his email is breached, right? Let's say hacker has access to the communications between that person and other organizations, other companies. And at some point, when this person, let's say the CEO or CFO wants to do a purchase, they'll just interfere within the communication and send an invoice, but with a different account. So he's going to send the money to the attacker instead of the legit company. This is hard for us to investigate. I mean, it's easy to look at, okay, this is what happened, if you do some forensics, but talking to the banks and all that kind of stuff, it's nothing that we cannot do. So you guys don't have like the Draco team doesn't have like access to or contacts at banks or financial institutions. I imagine them like, hey, I'm calling JP Morgan, we got their hacking team on the phone. Can they do that, or is that a...
We can try, but no bank will give us that information.
It makes sense. So, cybercriminals, what is the current state of that right now? Can you kind of tell me like what they're about? What's the scale and scope of how they operate right now?
Oh, there's so many types of cybercriminals. It's hard to give a scale. I can give you some examples though. So, in terms of cybercrime targeting organizations, I think top two threats that we look at here are business email compromise, obviously, and ransomware. And in terms of ransomware, here is something that we can do something about it. In terms of targeting individuals, here we're looking at these sort of scams that are promoted to social media, and then you are lured either in investment fraud or in romance scams and so on. So basically, they trick you into giving them money, either directly, like you're investing, or in some cases, they convince you to give them access to your own phone or computer or to your banking system, and that's how they get all the money. And this is super hard to investigate because you have entire call centers that this is what they do from morning till night. They call people and they lure them, they teach them, okay, so I'm going to teach you how to make millions. And figure this out. So you start small, like as an investor. You send them some money, and then they send you the profit. You're like, oh, it's real. I send $100 and now I have 200. And maybe you do it again. And then they convince you, how about putting 10 grand? And that disappears. So if you stop early, you're actually stealing from the criminal.
So you should do it one time.
Yeah, no. We're not suggesting that. No way.
So I know, like, most people, when they hear cybercriminal, they're picturing some seedy-looking dude in a basement, hacker mask on, hacking away.
And a hood.
And a hood, of course. What's the actual profile on a cybercriminal? What would you say that looks like? And are these like companies who just run cybercriminal operations, or are they individuals?
Yeah, the call centers, these are actually organized, very well organized. They hire people, they train them if they don't have the know-how. I heard there was even cases where they were performing tests with a lie detector. So they make sure that they're not hiring an undercover police officer. So if they pass the lie detector test, then yes, they could actually work for them. But this is like the organized crime, but you also have like just individuals. There's no age in particular, so it's a wide range. Female, male, doesn't matter. We've seen both sides doing this, either in groups or individually. I don't know. I don't think there's a specific characteristic besides the fact that they decided these are smart people, right? Besides the fact that they decided to stay on the dark side. They could easily put their skill set on the good side, work for a cybersecurity company, work for police, work for, SOC centers. There's plenty of stuff on the job market if you have the skill set. But they decided to make money faster by not playing fair. But on the other hand, you can imagine that these guys sleep not that good at night. They always believe that maybe somebody will bust their door and so on.
I would hope they're worried, yeah, because the Draco team's out there.
The Avengers. But we've seen there was a recent arrest in Russia a couple of months ago, and they were filming his house. And he had like one Ferrari, one Lamborghini, a helicopter. Yeah, the video is on YouTube, so you can find it.
Oh, wow, so the business is good on that side.
Yes, especially on ransomware, these guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Because Bitdefender did a statistic a while back, and according to that statistic, 50% of the victims of ransomware pay. But that's only what they said. If you talk to law enforcement, which also looks at the actual databases of people who paid, it's actually 70%.
Oh my goodness. So in terms of combating cybercrime, do you feel like you're a force that's keeping them at bay, or are they just kind of overwhelming? Like you can't even like put a dent in it?
I think putting a dent in it, it's the fair. I mean, we're definitely not stopping it. We're definitely not derailing it, but putting a dent, yeah, I would say that's the fair.
Now, regarding your role at Bitdefender, so you handle strategic operations, which again still is made up title.
Yep.
What is your day-to-day like? What are you most excited about your everyday life?
I can tell you that rarely my days are similar. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on. So besides the various meetings that you have to have and to understand what's going on, where the company is going to from a technological point of view, now we also have all this conversation around AI, and we have machine learning and artificial intelligence within our products or in the back end since 2004. So, but nobody really cared like 2 years ago, right?
Now the AI marketing term.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fuss around this topic, and you see a lot of companies that are trying to cut corners and embedding AI within their offerings, like tech support and things like that. So obviously, we also are looking like, okay, we know this topic, we know this field. How can we work with it so that we can automate even more what we have? Because in the cybercriminality world, they can easily integrate new technologies. They can now use AI to generate better written phishing scams. They can improve code. What AI brought to the table for the criminals was that it completely eliminated the gap between a junior developer and a senior developer. So they can actually move faster, they can write better code. So we obviously have to do the same thing on this side. So, and then you have victims calling, say, I need help, I need forensics, I need this and that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So when I was talking about GandCrab, the reason we actually got involved in that case was because the criminal did a huge mistake. They infected the computer of the girlfriend of one of our most talented penetration testers. Huge mistake. So, and that's why we started working on the case, because there was like a personal vendetta. So
personal,
exactly. And we also noticed that law enforcement had also there were obviously victims all around the world. So they said like, hey, if you can help with the technical stuff, please jump in. We started on the case, and that turned out after 2 years to be a successful investigation. And there was, with all these decryptors, we managed to save around $100,000, which wasn't much because GandCrab had a very interesting model in terms of they were working with all the affiliates. It didn't really matter. They didn't do any sort of selection. And also so they were targeting individuals and companies. And also, whenever they infected the machine, the price they were asking was directly coordinated with the amount of interesting files on the drive. And there was a default $600. So if the machine was like fresh Windows installation, nothing interesting there, $600. But if you had like the computer's name was a database, or they found PDFs or Excel files that were interesting, the money was getting upper and upper.
That's funny, they had tiered pricing.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And so we put the dent in this group. They disappeared. They said like, they actually publicly stated that they made enough money, so they'll move to something else. And then they disappeared. The next case that was interesting to look into was another ransomware group called Revil, or also known as Sodino Kibi. And the reason we started looking at this one, so to speak, how do we choose? The reason we started to look at this one is because it was sharing 50% of the code with GandCrab. So basically, they rebranded. They didn't go anywhere, right? And this was another investigation that took about 2 years. So it finalized in 2019, something like that. And we were also able, in this case, to have another decryption tool. And this time, this decryption tool stopped $1 billion from being paid to the criminals.
That's amazing. This is something that the Draco team developed.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's
a massive
achievement.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's ads on the internet saying, we saved $1 billion.
That's good marketing.
Yeah, other investigations are when we look at dark markets, for instance, because you were asking, like, do we lurk on the dark web? Yes, we have automated crawlers, so not really a person doing that. And there's...
How do you do that? Because the dark web isn't crawlable by like traditional web crawling methods.
It's not as easy, but it is crawlable. It is searchable. If you know where to look. It really much depends what you're looking for. there's a lot of the dark websites, the onion sites, so to speak, that wish to remain anonymous. But if you look at dark markets, these need to be public. You cannot trade on a market if you don't know about the market. So they will advertise these markets. It's actually quite easy to find them. And then you're going to have your forums where people talk about, I don't know, hacking, other topics. And there sometimes they suggest, hey, I went on this other website and I found this and that. Oh, okay, I'll crawl that too from now on. There are plenty of companies out there that sell darknet intelligence because that's what they do. They crawl, they index, so then you can search, okay, where do I find stolen credit cards or passwords and all that kind of stuff. But in the case of the markets, like I said, they advertise themselves because they need to be aware. The administrators of the markets, which are basically the people that build the entire website, they will do this advertising for them because they make a commission out of it. It's usually around 2 or 3%. And one of the investigations that the team was involved was in Hansa market. And this is like 5 years ago, so it's not really recent. But that was a very cool investigation because Hansa market was number 3 in terms of the top markets. Yeah, we had, there was Alpha Bay, number 1, Dream market, number 2, and 3 was Hansa. And the investigation is quite cool because the FBI was investigating Alpha Bay and the Dutch police was investigating Hansa. And Alpha Bay was charging 2% commission, Dream was asking for 4%, and Hansa was asking for 2%. So when the FBI started talking with the Dutch authorities, they made a plan, and their bet was that the Dutch authorities actually had access within the server of the Hansa Bay, of the Hansa market. So what happened was not to do the operation at the same time. What they did was to first they closed Alpha Bay, and they started monitoring everything that happens on Hansa. And all the vendors and all the buyers migrated to Hansa and not to Dream because Dream was more expensive. And then they took it down and they performed house searches, house visits, and so on.
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh my goodness. Now, getting back to the AI conversation real quick, are you worried about the state of AI and hacking? Because you're right, every junior can suddenly be a very skilled hacker overnight if they know how to prompt it correctly.
It's not just hacking, it's also writing better code. So if you're doing any type of malware, whether it's a file infector, whether it's you're targeting IoT and so on. So it's hacking, it's development. If you're doing all these sort of scams, I think you've seen all these videos of important people talking, saying you should invest in this, and it's deep fake, right? It's not real. So I would worry from a business or a consumer perspective that these are getting better and better into impersonating, into creating more harder to detect or to interpret and so on. And look at all the people, I don't want to be judged, but look at all the people that, let's say, seniors do not really have experience with the internet. And from my point of view, we're already broken the internet. I mean, imagine somebody 70 years old that now they have time and they want to browse the internet. You open your laptop, you punch in a page or you just Google for it, and then what do? You have to accept all the cookies. Then you have to say, no, I don't want to be notified whenever you publish something new. And then you have to close all the ads that pop up here and there and movies and so on. It's pretty annoying for somebody that wants to know how to make zucchini in the oven. They're just looking for a recipe, but they have to look at all these ads, these movies, these cookies. What's with the cookies, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, you bring AI, and you do all these elaborate scams. It's a nightmare. This is not going anywhere good.
No, it's so elaborate and crazy. Now, I do hear a theory that AI, like the good AI, ChatGPT, good, is going to remove the the internet as we know it to like being where we simply interact with agents, and
Yep.
the internet won't be websites, it'll be simple databases and markdowns and API endpoints for AI just to interact with.
I think it's already happening. When you Google something now, you already have a summary written by AI. This is what you're looking for. And then, sure, you have the websites below. And I think, yes, your prediction is pretty much on the spot, especially because it's so annoying right now to visit particular websites that are going to try to sell something to you. So, yes, I would think that's correct.